Let me start the recording just so we can capture some good content today. And so, of course, one of our reasons was, of course, as far as our speakers, you guys will be able to hear from our awesome inaugural cohort today. We got Malcolm on. Ian is on his way. He was closing a business deal actually, so they're grinding. They're doing their thing. Malcolm on the West Coast now. He moved out to LA, so the time difference is a little different. So they've been trying to work around their schedule just to make sure that they can come and contribute and give y'all some good gems today. And so, of course, Ian will tell you guys a bit more about what he's working on. And so he, through WaySlay, they're building partnerships with like different beauty supply stores. WaySlay is basically like the Uber Eats for beauty and hair care products. And so he has to go to certain, like beauty supply stores to like establish that partnership. And he told me right before this started that he's securing probably one of their largest beauty supplies. And so they're just making a decision on whether they want to go with it or not. So he'll be on his way. He said probably with like in the next 5 minutes. So definitely all good reasons, making business moves. Dr. Karen was another one of our panelists today. Her startup is Child Nexus. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency, so you guys won't be able to hear from her today, but I still want to try to loop her back in later on so that she can give y'all some good gems too. But first off, Malcolm, how you feeling, man? Good to see you, bro.
Dude, man, I'm earning and learning out here. They're working me hard out here in California, man.
I believe it. I believe it, but you built for it. You're definitely built for it. So I know you're doing your
You
thing.
already know. You already know. And it's all for the company at the
Yeah,
end of the day anyway. So the grind, there's joy in the process.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I love it. I love it. And matter of fact, we got some preset questions. So the way today will work is it'll be panel style. We can start to get a bit of a start on it while we're waiting on Ian, but it'll be panel style today. So pretty much you'll be leading it for now, Malcolm, until Ian gets in. And so we do have 10 preset questions for our panelists that the team will kind of be divvying up and asking you guys. But at any point in time, if our new fellows, our cohort 2 fellows, would like to ask any questions at any point, feel free to stop us in between our questions and just, hop in and drop it in the chat, or you can come off mute and you can share your question as well. So I'm going to change it to speaker view just so we can make sure we're capturing everybody. And so given that, hope everybody had a great week. First off, I hope everybody's doing good. You're feeling good. We have a great session today. Malcolm is a genius. Malcolm has some great gems for us today. Likewise, Ian is too. He'll be on his way. But just to kick things off, of course, Malcolm is the CEO and founder of Gabb Global. I don't want to tell much. I want you to tell your story, Malcolm. And so just to kick things off, could you tell us more about yourself, more about your startup, and just like some general things, where you're from, what you're building, and why you're building it? We know as a founder, this entrepreneurial journey is no joke. There's going to be times when you want to give up, right? And so that why is something critical that you'll always have to tap into. What am I doing this for? Is it for my family? Is it for my community? Is it for myself? So that I don't give up on myself or to build something bigger than myself. And so that why is always going to keep you going. So tell us more about who you are, but not just what you're building, but why you're building it.
I love that question, man.
Yeah,
And that's probably one of my favorite ones to answer because I feel like that's what keeps you going when things get extremely difficult as an entrepreneur and you're down to your last couple, like $100, and you're trying to figure out how to scale, get your employees paid, and then just live to fight another day. And that comes from having a question inside of yourself that you've held deep in mind for so long that it became a part of who you are and how you think and how you see the world. And from there, everything just becomes a learning experience. And so my question was how to speed up learning. I was a neuroscience major in undergraduate, and just some of the crises that come from getting the only neuroscience degree as a Black guy, just questioning and doubting your own intelligence and whether or not you can do this or you can do that. It made me really hungry to make our people feel empowered cognitively. And one of the ways that really helped us to do that was learning a new language, giving yourself something else to have in your tool belt that helps you like exceed the ancestors' wildest dreams. Just feel proud every time you walk out into the world and have something else that the world can't take away from you. And I was out in Paris one night. I was with my ex-girlfriend. Her name was Layla. She was out here speaking, talking about my friend Ipa très bien français. He speaks really well, right? And so now I'm on the spot and I start talking. Halfway through my monologue, the whole room just bursts out laughing at me, right? And mind you, I'm the only black guy here. So I'm just feeling inadequate in every way, shape, or form. And then in my mind, deep down in my like subconscious, I'm like, we've got to figure out a way to help our people practice things without pressure, where we can gain the competence to get through any conversation. And now that we've got that chat GPT integration, it's like a tennis match. You can just go back and forth with people and you never get tired. So I just want to help people accelerate their learning gifts using my platform, Gabb Global, and learn a new language in light speed. If you use my product 3 to 5 times a week, 15 minutes a day, I can teach you 2,000 words in 6 months.
That's huge. That is huge. Tap into it. Tap into Gabb Global. Is it on the market yet? Is it on iOS? Is it?
Right. So we dropped for the individual consumer December 13th of this year, but we are currently working with schools and have 10,507 users that are helping us to iterate on our platform. And now that I'm at UCLA, I can get some neuroscience research done to where we can see where in the brain these memories are changing and really stand out in the market. We've had some competitors emerge in the VR space, and they've been a little bit more savvy about getting money because they don't look like us.
Right.
So how I make up that ground is I differentiate myself in the market, connect myself with a larger school, and get the credibility that they won't be able to access. So I don't know if you guys knew this. Kmart started a couple years before Target, and they got out to a really big lead, way more customers. Walmart won in the end. And that's just because they stuck with it and they had their own brand and market strategy that was completely different and aligned to the market. People need to know they're getting smarter, and that's what I'm going to do for them.
That's deep. That is definitely deep. And that's just the first question. I'm already inspired. That's just the first question. But I love it. And I think you pinpoint a lot of key things, Malcolm. And I think, for one, you're the epitome. I feel like you're the epitome of like tenacity as an entrepreneur. When you spoke on going out to UCLA and trying to gain funding. For those who don't know, Malcolm started here. He started here. I think you were based out of Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Based out of Virginia. How long have you been in LA now?
This is my 3rd month now.
Yep, 3rd month. And that's a big deal. You know, that is the definition of betting on yourself. You saw that the ecosystem wasn't giving you what you thought you deserved. And so you were able to tap into UCLA, like you had told me maybe a couple of weeks ago. You said UCLA is funding Gabb Global now, right? They're funding like more research and so forth. That's a big deal. That is definitely a big deal. But so many gems, man, especially that why, you know, in terms of just being able to, especially from our community, I feel like we like ridicule each other a lot in terms of like trying something new and we can't grasp it. And so, especially when it comes to language learning, you know, just being able to comfortably grasp it in an efficient way. So I think that's amazing.
I can ask the next question. Hi, Malcolm. Miss you.
Hey.
My question is Gabb Global your full time, or do you have another job? How do you balance it all in social life, family, all that?
Right. So my first semester was a little bit more complicated being in this program. So I was having to apply to grants to get my research funded, right? But I still have my obligations to Gabb Global. So paying my employees, doing that sort of stuff. We figured out a way through the Ralph Bunch program to integrate both of my interests under one umbrella. So I'm getting paid to work on Gabb Global while I'm here. So it didn't start out that way. It's been 6 years in the making of trying to figure out how to connect myself with a major institution where I can grow, because I study the greats in my industry and I'm trying to build off of where they left off, like the Louis Von Ahns, and all of them were connected to a major institution. All of them. And so this is part of the reason why I've come here and done this. And ultimately, I didn't expect it to work out this way, but they have funding for people that are working on startups here. And I suggest you guys get with your schools and see what other funding is available, your particular projects.
Definitely some good feedback, bro. Definitely some good feedback.
Malcolm, I have a quick question. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Obviously you're in LA. What resources do you think will be advantageous and beneficial for the people that's locally based on the East Coast in the DMV area? Like, I don't want to just say like, you know, going to LA will solve all the problems going to a big school, but like where like locally did you really start sourcing and finding out resources that can help expand that kind of resource base for our entrepreneurs that's on the call today?
Let me think about that for a second. So my background is a little bit different from most people. I didn't really get much outside investment from people outside of you guys, the Black Ambition Prize, and Black Girl Ventures. I used that capital to springboard and build out the full suite of VR experiences that I could get into the schools that were on my waiting list. So, see, it's not really about so much location and proximity. It's more about what these people have to offer and what opportunity they have for you. Because oftentimes I've been in people and they didn't really get the vision of what I was trying to do. And so they kind of would they would talk down about what I was trying to build. But when you're in that space and you've got an Alexia James in there, and she's saying, Malcolm, this is something we've always dreamed of investing in. This is something we've always wanted. That's when you know you've got that fit. You don't just want anybody. You want people that are gung-ho about what it is that you do and will ride for you. And so I didn't really meet those people in DC, unfortunately, but I met them at UCLA. And I just want founders to be open to whatever God has for them. Because that's the only way to do this. When you get a feeling about somebody's interest in who you are and what you do, and y'all just want to collaborate and let like minds just build the future.
Seeing some good reactions in the chat. They're feeling the passion. They're feeling the gems, Malcolm. And it's real. It's not for show. If you know Malcolm, you know this boy's he's serious about the community. He's serious about what he's building. Could you share with us maybe one of your biggest wins that your startup has experienced this year so far? Like what's one thing that gets you hyped when you wake up in the morning that like Gabb is experiencing right now?
So part of it is I've got a CTO now who lives in this area. He's getting his PhD at USC. And he pretty much comes with me every day to my neuroscience lab, and we write out new code and build projects, and we see what fMRIs are saying about how people's brains are changing based on what we're teaching them and based on what we're learning. And me just knowing that I'm the only guy who's building a language learning app, and I'm the only Black guy doing that, it's really just empowering to feel like I've got people studying the neuroscience research. Like I'm right on par with Immerse and Immerse Me right now, even though I haven't raised nearly as much capital. What we have, and we're going to publish to the Calico Journal, and what we have that we're going to publish in the Neuroscience Symposium that's going to happen later on this year on November 14th. That's what gets me up in the morning. Knowing we've got goals.
That's huge. That's huge. And y'all, I feel like y'all are setting that, and you're just going down the checklist. I remember you telling me even some of the goals that you planned on making, and just seeing them checking social media, or seeing your text, and just giving me updates on those big wins you're experiencing. Man, that's a huge deal. Definitely a big deal. I do want to pivot a bit. I want to pivot a bit and talk specifically about the program. And as you were going through the cohort, what's your favorite memory of being a member of our inaugural cohort? Like one specific memory that always stands out to you going through our program.
There was one night I had a really bad day, and I just lost a CTO, and half of my team had just broke off. I didn't tell anybody this because I was confident I could get the team back together in time. And I met a mentor through your program who was able to help me with my business strategy. I don't know if you want me to like say her name and all that stuff. I don't know if you guys are going to have her back or anything like that, but
yeah, no, you can tell her. We don't have her for this cohort, so you can talk about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So it's Miss Barbara. She was tremendously helpful to me in just figuring out my plan for my startup. Because I was the type of founder, I just jumped gung-ho into things and I wasn't being very strategic in terms of the moves I wanted to make. But based on the questions that you guys were asking during the conversation and just the feedback that she was giving to young founders, I just thought this is something I want. So I entered the raffle and I somehow won, like out of all the people that applied for it. And so from there, we had our own personal consultation. And she was just telling me how to just size up people in my company and not just on it, because I'm kind of analytical by nature. She was helping me to see the sort of human side of it. How do we deal with people when they're not exactly delivering the way they're supposed to? And how do you express that in such a way to where they're not totally discouraged, but actually encouraged? How do you meet people where they are? And we had a cool conversation around that. And yeah, we talked about me coming on, bringing her on, like to talk to me every couple of weeks.
That's huge. That's huge. Now,
And I still want to do
Tina's
that.
awesome.
It's just that I'm in a position where I'm planning on building out the tech fully because that's
Yeah.
who I am.
Yeah,
And then when it's time to bring on that go-to-market strategist and all the people at the end of our pipeline,
yeah,
that's when I'll get the coaching.
definitely.
But it was just the coaching across the board that I felt like was very beneficial. And just meeting other like Black founders and just watching you guys, you and Clay, y'all's drive to get this done. I know that was a hell of a process. I'm just extremely impressed with the resilience.
Definitely. Thank you, bro. Definitely. And Tina is awesome. Definitely keep her in your back pocket for sure. I think that speaks to a lot of value of this program. That even when the program is over, you've established that relationship with your mentor, and they'll still stand behind you 100%. Like I'm sure, and Ian, once he's able to hop on, he'll tell you more about Louise. Louise is the strategic director at LVMH. She's also one of my mentors. And so he was able to help Ian a lot in terms of like just building that brand, building strategic partnerships. And so likewise, how Tina was able to help you out, definitely keep your mentors, even for our current cohort, keep your mentors in your back pocket, establish those relationships quick. And don't just sit on it too long, like, hey, we'll set up something eventually, because before you know it, you'll blink your eye, the program's over and you never met. It happens all the time. And so, be proactive on trying to get on their schedule. If they have a Calendly and you can see all the times that they're free, just hop on it and try to set something up, even if it's not a full hour and they only have a quick 30-minute window, set that up, because that mentor could be a potential, partner for you, a potential investor for you, but it's all about how proactive you are and what you want to get out of the program. So please tap in with your mentor. They'll be your coaches as well as we lead up to your final pitch competition at Pitch Perfect. And so, just be sure to tap in with them, and build that genuine connection. A lot of them will also look out for you, even just outside of like what you're building as far as your startup, but like just in generally a mental check. How are you feeling as a Black man in America, as a Black woman in America? And so that's a big deal. I see we got Michelle, you got your hand up. You got a question for us?
I do. Hi, Malcolm. You mentioned that in terms of funding, got support from them. Shout out to y'all. And then Black Girl Ventures, also a Black Girl Ventures alum. So happy to hear that. But why did you ever think about or pursuing any other forms of fundraising or doing a seed round or something like that?
So I'm working on the seed round right now. I'm planning on closing it in 2 to 4 weeks, but that requires a little bit more planning. You've got to have at least 150 investors in your pipeline. You want to be taking 10 meetings a week, and you hopefully want to be letting them know that you've got 11 spots on your cap table rather than I'm trying to raise $2 million. So framing your deal and what you have to offer these investors takes a little bit more time and effort than I think people realize. So I'm working on that right now, but it has not fully been secured yet. I've got 180 grand committed to this round, and I'm still taking meetings. So what we get, and when we don't, we won't build out. But in the end, it's all about living to fight another day in this game.
Thanks. Just curious.
Did I answer your question?
You did. That was great. Thank you.
Okay, I heard the tone. I'm like, maybe I didn't. Okay.
Anybody else got any questions or wanted to expand on any of the previous questions before we move on? We did want to introduce Ian as well when he has a chance, but did want to see if anybody else had any immediate questions for Malcolm.
I'll go ahead and ask my question. What's going on, Mr. Lee, my brother? How you been, man?
Hey, man, Ernie London, baby, how you been?
Hey, man, listen, earning and learning, as you say, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, listen, I known you since February of last year. Like, I just want to say you're truly an inspiration. I remember, there came a time where, I was a Black Ambitions semifinalist and also BGV, both Next Gen program alum and all that. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, how does this man have all this energy, like all this passion, you know what I'm saying? Like just to get to this point of like, just being like one of the top tier next gen entrepreneurs, you know what I'm saying? So like, what is it that you do to keep your mind like sane throughout this whole journey? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I never said I was sane, man. I'm just obsessed and possessed with the dream, man. That's like true. Building this language learning app is what I was put on this earth to do, and I know that because I know what it did for me, and I know that I'll help other people. So, yeah.
Nah, I felt
I
that.
don't mean to be so fiery.
Bro, I know you
I'm
for a
just
year now. I already know how you get. So, like, listen, like, just know, bro, you truly inspiration, man. And I just can't wait to see what the journey looks like for you in the future.
I can't wait to see what it looks like for you, man. I've seen you grow, man.
Hey,
Just
man.
in general, from getting it from a concept to something that you can conceptualize and got a marketing strategy for and build out prototypes. And man, this cohort is really gonna help you.
Appreciate you,
I
brother.
guarantee you that.
Yeah, listen, I'm looking forward to it.
Much love, man. I love the support. I love the support between y'all two. That's always a big deal. It's always refreshing to see for sure. But of course, we got to introduce Ian next. I know, no rush, Ian. We told you were securing some. We told him you were securing some big business deals. So no stress. But if you are ready, feel free to hop in. We would love to introduce you as well, Ian.
No, I appreciate it. I'm still running on CP time. I feel like, or this is probably beyond that. I think you could use a word that starts with the N time on this one. So I apologize about that. But yeah, I was actually meeting with a potential partner. So my name's Ian, and I am the co-founder and CEO of WaySlay, where we deliver beauty supplies in as little as 20 minutes. So you could consider us essentially to be like the Uber Eats for beauty supplies, where we partner with beauty supply stores to deliver all beauty supplies that you can find within a store that focuses primarily on Black hair care. So, braiding hair, shampoos, conditioners, edge control, you name it. We deliver it. We deliver it all. So that's us in a nutshell. We currently deliver in Miami, the DMV area, as well as Pittsburgh. And then I'm currently in Charlotte, focusing on getting this market going. So fingers crossed by next week, I should will know. The huge beauty supply store, literally they took over a Office Max out here. So it's probably the largest beauty supply store I've seen, and they have like three locations. So it'll give me a good 60-70% delivery coverage if they say yes in one shot. So hoping that goes well. So again, sorry for running late.
No worries, man. Fingers crossed. That's a big deal for you. Definitely is. So super excited for you just persevering and doing what you're doing. I do want to circle back and ask you a couple of questions that we gave Malcolm, just so that the team and the cohort can get a better idea of, what you're building and specifically why you're building it. That was one of our initial questions. Not just what WaySlay is, but also what was the passion behind it, the drive behind you building what you're building right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. So, I mean, WaySlay started from an experience that my late co-founder had with his fiance when she ran out of beauty supplies and was running late for an event. And so he said, "Hey, why don't you just get them, delivered? You can get anything delivered." And when she told him it didn't exist, he was pretty shocked by that, and that kind of stuck out to him since he's a problem solver and focus on development as well. Or he was a developer, and so kind of started doing some research and figuring out that like it didn't exist. There's an opportunity for it. Talked to a lot of friends and family before we launched, and I think specifically like the passion that for why we did WaySlay is because we both felt like even though we're two men, that we have a unique skill set where we could actually build something to help people. One, you can help consumers who need, hair care products that are hard to find very, very quickly. A lot of stores, Walmart, Targets of the world that have delivery or that you would go to one-stop shop don't have call it 95% of the products that Black women need in those stores. So that's a part of it. The other piece came a little later, but you realize that there's a huge opportunity to help mom and pop stores remain relevant. So a lot of business is going to Amazon, right, or other large big box retailers, and this is something that will help them to remain relevant. A lot of times we're their first touch at integrating with technology, believe it or not. We find that quite a few stores, despite some of them doing like $2 million in sale, are still using a cash register, right? And there's a difference between a cash register and a POS. They might accept credit cards on a pen pad, but they don't actually have a system to manage their store properly. And so, we've made that process incredibly easy for them to be onboarded to WaySlay, where they actually don't have to lift a finger through our white glove service. And yeah, we're just looking to essentially become the go-to app for Black hair care. So we're starting with delivery, but we also have like the goal to integrate other pieces as well, like a marketplace for those who have their own brands to be able to sell on, shipping nationwide, as well as having a way to have influencers and inspirational looks that then directly you can copy from seeing on video into your cart. Like those are the things we're really looking to be able to do to kind of distinguish ourselves eventually.
Definitely. I love it, man. I love the progress. I know Mike is smiling down on you persevering. Like this is huge. And I just gotta let you know I'm proud of you and what you're doing, man. I know previously we talked and I asked a question to Malcolm about like some of his most valued resources through the program, like the mentor, the grant, the workshops, and he kind of expanded a bit more on like his relationship that he had built with his mentor, Tina, and how she had supported him. So of course you had Luis from LVMH. And so could you expand a bit more on maybe some of the gems that Luis had given you, maybe the relationships that you two have built and how he was able to support you in WaySlay?
Yeah, no, Luis is great. And I haven't caught up with him in a little bit. But like his big focus is like the details, and how you're communicating to customers. So he was really helpful as we were trying to better understand like our customer persona, as well as like the voice of WaySlay, and then also like how to put a marketing plan together. So I feel like with Luis, he's someone that has like so much information about like everything that he's able to kind of take that and be able to give you not only good feedback but say, hey, look, like check out what this company is doing that you wouldn't have thought of as well. So I really enjoyed the mentorship. I mean, I think that's like the biggest like benefit of the program overall, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, Luis is a beast. Luis definitely is. And he was the omni-channel director at LVMH for years, I think. So in terms of like pinpointing communication strategy and so forth, I was hoping he would definitely be able to aid in and support y'all with that. So that's
Yeah, and specifically he was a part of like leading the marketing efforts for Hennessy.
Yep.
So used to kind of talking to the same customer segment as well. So yeah, no, great relationship that I've been able to build with him.
That's awesome. What was your favorite memory of being a member of the inaugural cohort? Anything specifically jump out to you throughout anything within that duration of the last 4 months that you guys have went through?
So favorite memory, I honestly, I mean, I would go to my conversations with Luis. I mean, I was catching up with him probably as often as like bi-weekly at one point. So for me, that's what I most appreciated about like him just being able to make himself available, especially as someone that was very busy. Like,
Definitely.
oh, like I know I work a lot, but it's like, Luis, like, bro, you need a vacation. Like,
I tell him that all the time. I tell him all the time.
So that's what I would say that I appreciate it the most. And then also like on a like, I guess, kind of private memory, just being able to come out to the DMV when I was visiting stores and having lunch with Keontae in the middle of the day, having a a few drinks, hanging out. So I thought that was really cool, really fun. I had got that Mustang, and you took the
Yeah, yeah,
Mustang for a little bit of a ride. There's
yeah.
the rental. So that I don't think that's like a official part of the program, but
It
unofficially
counts.
that was a
Yeah,
good time.
that
So
definitely counts. Let me tell y'all, man. Ian pulled up. We went to Milk and Honey in PG. He pulled up in this candy red Mustang, and just he
yeah.
was in this stunting parking lot pimping. He was doing his thing, and so like it was a vibe though. It was definitely a vibe. We had a good time, man. Food was good. The drinks was all right. We had to send them back and get us some more drinks, but it was a good time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It wasn't my car, man. You can have the keys anytime.
That thing was sweet. Definitely. Oh, Amber said, "What year? You remember what year it was?"
That car,
Had to
it
be new.
was it was fairly new. All I know is that from there, was it at that moment or was it on the way to see you? I don't know at some point I hit 120. Like that's what I know. 120, 125
Yeah.
on that Mustang. So that was probably I mean, it had to be at least a 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
yeah, I was hitting it in that thing.
Yeah, that was sweet.
I
That
thought
thing.
you had an old school. I don't feel the same anymore.
Oh, dang.
No, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't my car. This was like a rental that I got because
Oh,
I was
got it.
Yeah.
area. So it's like hey, which one do you want? And it's like, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Yeah, no. That don't have that type of old school. So we do have a old school back at home. I'm from Detroit. But yeah, not the Mustang. So
Yeah. I love the old schools too, though. Amber, what's your favorite year? You got a favorite year?
65.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's definitely one of my favorites. That's definitely one of my favorites. Malcolm said too, Venturepalooza. Definitely appreciate you pulling up to that. That was definitely a vibe. We had mentioned to y'all Venturepalooza is like our end of the year networking mixer / gala / after party, and it's a vibe. It's definitely a vibe. We're having it in Austin this year during Afrotech. It'll be November the 2nd. All fellows, of course, get a free ticket, as well as your co-founder. So if you're able to come, definitely come. Previous cohort is definitely able to come too. Y'all get free tickets. So if anybody's going to Afrotech, especially, it'll be in Austin, Texas, Thursday, November 2nd. And we're actually speaking to Luis too. I'm trying to see if Moet Hennessy can sponsor. So that might be dope too. Luis mentioned doing maybe like a champagne tasting. So definitely is a vibe. It's always a good time. So if y'all are able to make it, especially if you got Afrotech tickets already, meet us there. It will be awesome. Definitely.
and that definitely sounds fun. I have future founders that week, and I'm mad they put it on that week. I didn't know it was the same time, and yeah.
It's all good. We'll always have something else. So no stress, no stress. Our goal is to expand it to a different city each year. So next year, it's up in the air, but we might do New York. I'm not quite sure yet. So we'll definitely keep y'all posted. But wanted to pause here though, just to see if the fellows had any additional questions for Malcolm and Ian. I know we do have a couple as far as the team to continue to guide the conversation, but just wanted to see if y'all had any before we move forward.
I had a question about Ian's like model. Like, how does WaySlay? So if I'm like, hey, I need some pro style gel, do I download your app? How does it work? And I'm curious about the delivery piece. Like, how do you find people to deliver if that is how the model works?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have an app or website. Essentially, you put in your address, it brings up the nearest beauty supply store, and we pick up and deliver within a 5-mile radius of the store. So very similar to the radius that another delivery aggregator would use to make sure that we can deliver it quickly and affordably as well. And then as far as sourcing drivers, actually we have a great partnership with one of the aggregators. And so we have 1 million drivers. We have access to 1 million drivers across the US, Mexico, and Canada at any point. So really, for me, the biggest thing is getting stores to say yes and that they want to use WaySlay as a delivery service, because we intentionally don't carry inventory, right? So we partner with them and then we take a percentage of every sale. So our model is very, very similar to what you'd see for like a DoorDash.
And just a quick follow-up, like how do you, it sounds like you kind of just pound the pavement, you go store to store, but how do you kind of convince vendors to collaborate with you?
Yeah, so we actually have like a deck that we kind of walk them through. Sometimes we go through it, a lot of times it's just general conversation. You kind of fill it out on like who that person is. For some folks who walk in the door, they're like, where have you been all my life? For others, they're like, what is delivery? I'm 70 years old. So it's definitely a scale. And so really it's about making sure we are able to connect directly with the decision makers. And then just having an honest conversation of like, hey, look, this is what we do. This is how we work. Here's how we can set up your store. This is our cost. And then going from there. So, and the reason we do it this way, I wish I could just send emails and like have a team that, just like reaches out to store owners on a regular basis and then just like, oh yeah, someone's interested, like just go by and talk to them. Or I don't even have to talk to someone, they just sign up and then we start the process, right? Like that would be a dream. However, in the beauty supply store industry, they're not used to that. They don't hop on Zoom calls, they don't have meetings. So email is used when necessary. So it's a little different of a world that we're playing in, where it's very opaque, unfortunately, and we have to walk in, and we learned that early on, excuse me, because we tried calling and typically we got hung up on. But I mean, you're not going to just hang up in my face, like in real life. You're not going to just say no, right? Like I'm already here, so you might as well listen. So that's the approach we took, and we saw a completely different experience in getting stores to say yes and get onboarded.
And last question, I promise. Are most of these store owners like from the Asian diaspora? Is it more diverse, or are you finding kind of more Black owned beauty supplies? And is that part of your model?
Yeah, so it for us, like I wouldn't say that like what you look like or where you're from is what matters to me, but rather the quality of your store. I think in the beginning we were just looking for any store to say yes, and you realize there are certain things you kind of have to look for, which you identify in person. It's just like, or how are they carrying inventory, right? Like, are they stocked up consistently? What is their kind of general mannerisms? Like, are they good people in general? Like, it's like there's a few things we kind of look at, because if folks start placing orders and they don't have the products, or they're not willing to reach out and say, hey, we have an alternative product that we can give you instead, like now this whole thing like just isn't going to work per se. I will say, like, part of the model where it does come in is like we've typically, when we go to new cities, attempt to partner with Black beauty supply store owners first. It's crazy, but they're usually the ones that don't want to work with us. So believe it or not, most of my store owners, I'd probably say majority are Middle Eastern. They're like, hey, I see an opportunity, I want to grow, like let's do it. Usually, the other way around could be a little challenging, unfortunately, but still try to hold true to that, because I know that it's an advantage, whether they realize it or not, and you try to push on that. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question.
And then DJ, you got a question for us?
Yes, sir. What's going on, Ian?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Good. My question is short and sweet. I just want to know, other than timely deliveries, what else does WaySlay does to retain its customers?
Yeah, so we actually just introduced loyalty. So from each order, now folks, customers are getting points and then being able to essentially get free beauty supplies after ordering from us so many times. There's like it's a very basic algorithm that kind of assigns points. So looking to grow that. But yeah, I'd probably say really the most important thing is making sure you get them the right products and on time. Like food is important. Like, don't get me wrong. Like if someone messes up your order, like you're not happy, I mean, you'll still survive as a human. You'll eat the food, right? Like it's still edible. With hair care delivery, I feel like it's actually more important because someone is trying to buy hair products to look and be in a specific position, right? Like we're just the beginning, but that hair is meant to go to their appointment with their stylist, right? So then they can go on vacation to, I don't know, Mexico or Jamaica, right? Like, or they need to, there's certain hair products because they need to get their hair done for their birthday, or they have a job interview, right? So like for me, accuracy is actually more important than even timing, even though that's like our big thing, like delivery in as little as 20 minutes. Because if you don't have those products that you need to complete the look you want, it's not a good experience at the end of the day.
Makes sense. Thank you, Ian.
Mm-hmm.
Question from Quincy.
Yeah, hi. My name is Quincy Box. I'm a rising junior business administration major at Morehouse College, and I was wondering, how did you get access to your network of, I forgot how many you said, but it was a large amount of drivers. Yeah.
Yeah, so we partnered with Uber, and we knew that they had a specific, like basically API that we could tap into. So which is, just for those who may or may not know, just a fancy way of saying like we could essentially talk to their network of drivers. I don't know if it's still, I think they like dismounted it, maybe I think it's like only for like to be honest, it started with Postmates, and then once they bought Postmates, that's where it became a lot harder for just anyone to kind of tap into that API. So for us, it actually works out as a competitive advantage that not just anyone can tap into it, but there are many others that folks can use. Like I know DoorDash has one. I know Walmart local has one as well. But that's essentially how it's working. We've just set up like a partnership where when we get an order, we say, hey, send a driver to go pick them up and drop them off once certain criteria is met, in the most probably basic way to explain it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're at time, fellas, but I definitely have, I want to see if I have at least 5 more minutes if we could get through a couple of other closing questions. And this is a question for both of you guys. What has been your greatest challenge? We know that like being an entrepreneur, we've heard a lot of your big wins, but being an entrepreneur is not always rainbows and sunshine, right? And so what's been one of your greatest challenges, and like what advice could you provide on navigating that challenge? Like any specific resources that you've leveraged to help mitigate that challenge?
Yeah, I guess I can go since I'm still talking. For me, I'll be transparent. Like and usually I don't like having this conversation typically, but unfortunately my co-founder passed away last year, and it was like a sudden type of situation. He's the one who developed our app. He was our CTO. So like I understand tech. He knows tech like to every little inch and decimal and code. And so that was like year 2 was really tough for us. Like I'm literally like today was my first time actually getting back out there and like talking to stores and going through the process of trying to grow. Essentially, I was focused on maintaining. All of last year our app went down probably no more than 10 times for various reasons. And that's because I was not in charge of all the inputs of how our our code and database and servers and everything like that were working. And so I, besides grieving, had to figure that out as well, so that we could, remain a business, essentially. So anyways, like I would say my lesson learned from that challenge, at the end of the day, it could happen to any one of you. I wouldn't have thought that it would have happened to Mike, So what I just tell founders is make sure that you document as much as possible, So it like for us, it was untangling like a huge spider web, and even like basic things like credentials, right? Like I had to convince Apple not to take our app off the store. Like, listen, I'm not trying to call in as fraud. Like, whatever you need from me, I like just want to pay you so that we can remain in the app store, and so on and so on. Like many other examples of that as well. So that's been my biggest challenge. And I think the biggest way to make sure you're prepared if that were to happen, or even if it's not, that it doesn't have to be that. It could just be someone saying like, hey, I'm not passionate about this, I want to leave, or who knows. I would definitely focus on making sure you understand what that your other co-founders are doing, what they bring to the table, and ensuring that that's like packaged and available somewhere online. So yeah.
And I'd like to co-sign that, because what you said about the team was what really resonated with me. I have never had any like official co-founders. I've had people that want to come on and be hired guns, and typically they have an interest in language learning, but they typically want to go and work for Duolingo. They don't want to come and work at Gabb Global. So I've had to become, over the course of the last 6 years, my own accountant, my own business consulting, my own business development, my own product manager, my own software engineer for Unity development only. And then you got to go and learn Python because you need that to integrate your NLP tool. So it's like, I heard this great quote that says, talent does what it can, genius does what it must. It applies tremendously to founders, because if you just want to live on your talent, you can do any myriad of jobs, but you'll be relegated to that. But as an entrepreneur, you don't have a choice in saying, I'm just not going to do this. It all falls on you. And so I admire how, while you were grieving still, you were still able to make gains, for one. But two, this is just not something that you've got to be able to divide your time extremely well. And that's probably where I've been having the most difficulty. Because now that I'm in school doing the neuroscience program, I can't always be the PM, and I've got to hire the PM. And I've just got a myriad of jobs on my plate right now, even though I've got 21 employees, because they really only do that specific job. And so I feel like the solution to that is really just getting people more unified with the mission. See, I don't feel like the leadership piece is about being the smartest guy in the room anymore. And I think that's something God is working with me on. It's about having the ability to bring everybody together. The salespeople, the leaders, the finders, and the people that close the deals for you. Then you bring in your marketing team. You got your developers. Then you've got the people that do the go-to-market and lay all that out for you, so you don't even have to make or waste your 72,000 decisions. Like, you got to have the ability to inspire people, so much so that they're willing to follow you. And I feel like that's what I've been missing previously. And I'm hoping to find some co-founders in this season.
Thank you, Malcolm and Ian. This will be the last question. We'll get everybody off. What is the best closing advice that you can provide for an early stage founder?
Keep going. That's all I got.
Um, what I'll say, just because, uh, you know, I've gotten to know quite a few founders since launching WaySlay. I'm part of Future Founders now, where there's like a cohort of 30 other founders. And you learn that like we're all like working hard, right? And like doing everything we can to like grow our baby. But you don't know like what's happening, behind the scenes, some, or like to the level of like they're working so hard or they don't have money, they're giving like blood plasma just to survive, right? Like I've never gone to that degree of dedication, but I've learned that people do, right? And the only reason I bring this up is because like don't feel like you necessarily have to like quit your job or not have a way of making income. Like you as a person come first, and it's going to be very difficult for you to survive as a business if you're not able to take care of yourself, your family, your bills, you know what I mean? Like, so, for me, it's been a gradual transition, right? Like it went from, my background is actually in deploying technology for Burger King and Popeyes. So a lot of the concepts that we're applying for WaySlay actually have come from the work I've done at like with apps and kiosks and things like that for them. But like that was kind of part of our strategy, because being able to work meant that we didn't have to take money out of the business, and rather we were able to continue to put into it as well. So I think bootstrapping can be a strategy, but more than anything, make sure you're still able to take care of yourself. If you've been in any one industry for a longer period of time, you could consider doing consulting, which is what I do now. Like I worked for 10 years and now I do consulting on the side part-time. Ironically, it makes me more money than when I worked full time, which is great because now I can spend more time on WaySlay and kind of put some more funds in that way. But so yeah, that's like my biggest advice for everyone. Sorry, that was a little long winded, but yeah, to kind of think through that one.
That was perfect. That was perfect, and I appreciate y'all. You guys have definitely given some awesome gems today, answered some amazing questions. And hopefully we're all just leaving more inspired, a little more tenacious to work on what we're working on, maybe this weekend or next week or moving forward. Because I know y'all inspire me, man. What you guys have persevered through is amazing. And it just speaks to the testament of this not being a perfect journey, but it's a beautiful one. It can be a beautiful one as long as, it's whatever you make it. And so I definitely appreciate you guys joining us today. We know y'all had a lot going on, securing big business deals and just everything that y'all have going on. So we definitely appreciate you too. A lot of great feedback, a lot of great advice. I did drop in the chat your LinkedIn. So of course, our current cohort, please feel free to connect with them. If they do have any bandwidth, I'm sure they may, be interested in answering some questions moving forward. And you just never know, even if they're not in your specific industry, who they could connect you to, And so definitely be sure to, just stay in tune with these two and keep an eye on their traction, support them as well. And I'm sure that they'll support you. And so definitely appreciate y'all today. I know we're over a bit. Just some last closing housekeeping as far as the current cohort. We do have our next Founder Friday session, of course, in September. That'll be September 8th. We'll have Tremaine there. Tremaine has supported Black Girl Ventures and a few other organizations. And so he'll be speaking on building strategic partnerships. So other than that, please tap in with your mentors between now and then. As you have heard today, mentorship is critical. We've talked a little bit about how Tina was able to benefit Malcolm and how Louise was able to benefit Ian. And so definitely be sure to tap in with your mentors. They can be a future, sponsors or future investors, or even just there to be an advisor and a guide. So please be sure to set up those intro calls if you haven't already. But that's all I got. Anything else from anyone before we close?
I've got just one thing, only just because I had this conversation today, and based on some of the questions, I feel like this may apply to some of you all. But my tech arm is actually through this company called Congenius. If you want to look them up, they're actually Black owned, and they have developers that can basically code in various languages, and they do everything they can to make sure that like whatever work they do, especially with Black founders, is affordable. They're not someone that like is on Instagram or TikTok or anything like that. So but I mean they're on there, but you get what I mean. Like that's not like their MOs. So I talked to the founder today and I said, hey, look, I run into other founders that like need help, and I never know like, should I be recommending you? Like, how do you want, you know what I mean? Like, should I put you out? Like, I don't. And so he said, like, yeah, anyone that needs help, just like send them my way and we can, you know, have that conversation and see how I can best help. Or if I, you know, I need to send them someone else's way, I will. Or if I don't think it's worth, you know, like they're not going the right direction, I'll give them that feedback. But did just want you to know that happy to connect you all with the founder of Congenius, especially since I know that tech can often be a hurdle for, you know, getting your idea to launch or, you know, certain things. So just wanted to throw that out there as a resource.
Thanks, Ian. That was super helpful. I dropped their link in the chat too, guys. So definitely be sure to keep that in mind, especially as a lot of you guys are still, some of you guys are within the ideation phase and still trying to get your idea into an MVP. So definitely please keep them in mind. But awesome. That's everything I got, guys. I definitely appreciate you. I hope everybody has an awesome weekend. Have a great Friday, a great kickoff to our first Founder Friday session. Looking forward to the next one. But please keep us posted if you guys need anything. Thanks, Malcolm. Thanks, Ian. Definitely appreciate y'all.
So yeah,
Appreciate
feel free
it,
to
Mills.
reach out.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Have a good one.